Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. On the 5th of November, yes, it's firework day in the UK. And I'm going to do the broadcast inside, actually, because at the moment, it is quite windy at the moment. You get a better idea of the wind looking towards the grapes at the moment. You can see them blowing away like crazy. So again, the weather forecast for today, can I just thank Amanda for her concise weather forecast. Thank you, my lovely. She says, morning, Ginge, great to see you back. Nice to see you fighting fit as well. Thank you very much for that, my lovely. She says, the weather today, it's going to be sunny and bright, but humid as well. Temperature's 25 degrees Celsius, and it's going to feel like 25 degrees Celsius as well. In fact, some of the comments yesterday, people in Manchester were saying it was only something like 7 degrees there yesterday, and it was miserable weather. So as you can see, the weather here in Greece is good for this time of year. Can you believe it's November and we've got lovely sunshine like this in November? Absolutely amazing. Amanda is watching as well now. Thank you, Amanda, for your weather forecast. Absolutely brilliant. Can I also say a quick happy birthday to Daryl Higgins? That is Jane's brother. He's celebrating his birthday today. So happy birthday, Daryl. And can I also say a big happy birthday to Areti? Yeah, Areti, our lovely hostess at Magdalena's, she is celebrating her 25th birthday today. So once again, happy birthday to you, my lovely. I hope you have a great day and you have a good winter. And we'll see you hopefully next year in Magdalena's bar. All right, so happy birthday to Areti. Right, so we're going to go inside, quickly switch the camera around, go inside, and we'll do the news. Actually sat in front of the lovely pictures that Jane got me for my 60th birthday. Anyway, right, so what's been going on then? Well, to be honest, there's been a lot going on. Just looking for my mouse at the moment. In the last 24 hours, just to remind you, this is the last 24 hours for the unvaccinated having their freedom at the moment, but we'll get to that in just a tick. Right, COVID in the last 24 hours then, another record high of infection has been recorded. You might remember that yesterday had the second largest or second highest infection rate at 6,154. Well, yesterday the infection rate went to 6,808. So that's another record for infections. That means now there's been 767,376 infections since the beginning of the pandemic. 12 new cases were identified at checks into the country. That was up on the day before where there was 8. Now, something that I have done actually is I went through the national stats yesterday at the different locations that are of interest to us. And what I've started to do now is to put their rating in regards the COVID-19 map for the Greek government in as well as to whether they're green, amber or red. And it's quite interesting when you start looking at the infection rates for those islands in comparison to us. I'm only looking at the Aegean Islands. I'm sorry, at the Ionian Islands. I'm not looking at any of the other islands around. Just basically keeping it all localized into the Ionian. However, cases in Macardo yesterday, they had 18 new infections. That was up on the 3 of the previous day, and they're actually in green. That is their epidemiology rating at the moment within the Greek government. Cases in Corfu then, believe it or not, they had a stable another 93 come in. They had 93 on the day before. Not sure, that might have been a mistake in their figures, but that's what the information I've had. And Corfu is actually in amber. As for Kefalonia, they had 8 cases yesterday, which is down on the previous day where they had 16 new cases, and they are also in amber. And Zakynthos, we had 23 new cases of infection here on the island, which was up on the day before where we had 18. And just to remind you that Zakynthos is still in the red at the moment in regards to its epidemiology. Now that is within Greece. Okay. However, Greece within Europe is still in green. All right. Just thought I'd make that completely clear and concise. Anyway, I also had people asking me yesterday about the take-up of vaccinations here on Zakynthos. So again, I've done some research on that. It seems the figures I've got are for up to October. Obviously, November figures haven't yet obviously started to be produced. But as of October, the vaccination rate, i.e. one dose only, 64% of the island have taken that up. Fully vaccinated on the island, 62% of people have gone for the fully vaccinated. And the positivity rate, which means people that have been catching it, is 0.71%. Now, when they're looking at the, shall we say, mathematically worked figure for the case per 100,000, you've got to remember the island only has about 38,000 people on it. They're rating us with a 100,000 figure over a 7-day period, the MA case rate at probably 30.1. And if you remember rightly from the summer, we were looking at a number of 20 as the case rate that would change our epidemiology rating. So at the moment, they're actually saying in the statistics that I've seen that the epidemiology trend for Zakynthos is stable at the moment, despite the high numbers. So when we're going to come down from red to amber, not that that makes much of a difference at the moment, to be quite honest. We were really concerned about this with tourism, as at the moment for travelling around the islands and going from place to place, this localised rating system hasn't been much of an effect upon people moving about. As long as you've been vaccinated, you show your pass, you show your certificate. Also, you do a PCR test before going on board the ferries and you show that you're negative, etc. And also, if you're like me, you've caught it and you've got your certificate to say that you have had it and you've got over it. Although, however, that may all change tomorrow when obviously it changes in regards to the unvaccinated. And again, it's still an air of not knowing really what he's going to acquire. And I'll get on to that as we go further into the news. So at the moment then, when it comes to deaths at the moment, the death rate, believe it or not, yesterday had dropped despite the infection rate going up. 42 new deaths recorded across Greece, opposed to 49 on the previous day. That means at the moment 16,109 people have succumbed to the virus. 95.4% had underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. So once again, our condolences to those people and families affected at their loss at this time. When it comes to critical cases in hospital, looking at those figures again, they seem to have stabilised at the moment. 431 reported yesterday, 431 on the day before. Critical cases are 252 male, 179 female. The average age of those people in critical care is 64, and 80.3% of those had underlying health conditions. Regarding critical vaccinated patients, it seems that of that 431, 363 were not vaccinated, and that was 84.22% of them. And there were 68 who were partially vaccinated, meaning that they'd had their first jab but hadn't obviously had their second jab. Or maybe they were a Johnson & Johnson where they only had the one jab anyway, but now they are now saying that with the Johnson & Johnson you now need to have 2 jabs. Anyway, the deteriorating situation in northern Greece is causing great concern for the Greek government, with the level of pressure that the health service is becoming unsustainable. In Thessaloniki, COVID ICU beds are full. As for those in hospitals of Konsini, Potamia, Volos, Lamia, Larsia and Halkidiki, and in Trikala, the hospital there had only 3 available beds. Anyway, this is in the light of the expectation that today we'll see another record of new infections, with a vast majority being unvaccinated. So again, they're pushing at the moment, again, the mantra vaccinations as the way of getting out of this rise. At the moment, what you've got to remember, it's the time of the year. People are getting closer. It's colder. So obviously the virus is obviously a breeding ground now, because it likes the cold. It likes the wintry nights, and people are being closer together. So again, people are being expected now to mask up. And these new stricter rules will be coming in tomorrow as well. Right, so the Greek government has announced new measures primarily focused on the unvaccinated, which are being imposed from Saturday, November the 6th, due to the record number of infections across the country in the last few days. Now, the new measures will require all unvaccinated people to produce proof of a negative, rapid or PCR test to enter banks, public offices, retail outlets, restaurants and food outlets, entertainment venues and hairdressers. Now, the interesting thing is still no mention about people who've had it, who are unvaccinated. We have our certificate to say, yeah, that we've had it. We've done 30 days of testing. We're clean. And as far as we're concerned, we should be treated as a vaccinated person. But obviously, we've still not had any clear decision as to what is happening about those people like myself who find themselves in that position. Don't forget, there are people who can't be vaccinated for medical reasons. They may be undergoing cancer treatment. They may be having some other condition. I was speaking to one person the other day who actually has a medical condition where basically they can't have medicines injected into them because their body ultimately rejects them and also causes them great distress in the process. So therefore, there are people that are medically not able to have it. But again, it's not been made clear as to where they stand in this situation as well in regards to these new measures that come in on Saturday. Anyway, they also say the measures, however, these new restrictions will not apply in grocery stores, pharmacies or religious premises. Fines and closure periods for establishments that ignore the required customer checks have also been doubled as well. Now, it also says those fully vaccinated will be required to show their vaccination certificate before they enter any of the above establishments. So again, even if you've been fully vaccinated, you may still be required to show your vaccination certificate when you go in the grocery store, the pharmacy or religious premises, as another check to make sure they account for everybody going in and everybody going out. Again, a lot of businesses now are upset by this because this draconian measure means that the smaller businesses are under pressure. One, they might not have the staff who are able to monitor the doors. Two, they might feel that the supermarkets and big business areas are going to take business away that could easily be for them, as we saw on the last lockdowns, where the supermarkets started bringing goods in that the other shops would have done good trade with, but they were being usurped by the big guys coming in and saying, well, we can do this, we can do heaters, we can do this, that and the other, which traditionally would have been up to the other smaller businesses to have done. Anyway, also from Saturday, it will be mandatory to wear a mask in all situations outside place of residence. So basically what they're saying, you should expect to see people wearing masks on the street, and we will see if that transpires or not. So again, we'll wait and see how that carries on. Again, people do still walk around with masks on despite the restrictions on, but now it will be mandatory that you wear a mask when you are outside of your home. No mention about exercising, no mention about what you do if you want to go for a run or a walk, as there was last time when we were allowed out and we were given freedom of access to exercise, etc. But at least we're not booking in and booking out, which is what happened previously with previous kind of lockdowns and restrictions placed upon us here in Greece. Also, interestingly, the appointment platform for the booster jab, that's going to open today, or has already opened today, for all adults over the age of 18 who received their full initial vaccination more than 6 months ago. So if you got vaccinated 6 months ago, the platform to make your booking is open. As far as I'm aware, you could probably do that booking maybe through your local pharmacy. Just pop into them and say, I want to book in to have the vaccination done. I'm believing that the vaccinations will probably either take place at the hospital or they may take place at the vaccination centre in the ECA building down in town. But again, that's not been made very clear as to where you will go and get that third jab at this time. Obviously, more detail is obviously going to come out as things start to progress. Now, interestingly, yesterday, the Greek Prime Minister, Mitsotakis, he left open the possibility for the measures against coronavirus and those vaccinated, the persuasion operation for the unvaccinated like myself is now starting to intensify. Now, the appeal for the third instalment as well, that means the third booster, a safari of controls, I like that word, a safari of controls for the implementation of the measures also begins. The Prime Minister said, I'm adamant that we do not go to a lockdown with this phase. The Greek Prime Minister emphatically closed any possibility of the economy and society being quarantined again, obviously learning that lockdowns don't necessarily work. Anyway, stating optimistically that the national health system will withstand the pressure caused by the fourth wave of the corona pandemic. So again, the Prime Minister is saying that the Greek Health Service will obviously withstand the pressure. However, the reports coming from the north parts of the country are saying that the system is under pressure. Now, whether that means patients will be moved to other locations where beds are available, as they did before, so they still get the treatment, but they don't necessarily get the treatment in their local area. People being brought in from outside certain communities to fill a bed because there's a location. We shall wait and see if that transpires. Also, if you remember last time, the military hospitals were also activated, and temporary military hospitals were also set up in car parks of various hospitals around the country to treat the overflow, as it were. But again, we'll wait and see if that transpires as well at this time. Anyway, he also went on to say at the Maximus Mansion, that's the home of the Prime Minister, they measure the reactions in the professional world, but also in the society from the measures announced for the unvaccinated, with effect from next Saturday, meaning this week, tomorrow, recognising that their faithful application is a big bet at this crucial moment of the pandemic, with the national health system under strong pressure. Well, what he's saying basically there is that people like myself are basically gambling that we're going to be okay. I'm gambling because I've already had it. So therefore, I don't want the vaccination. I'm making that very clear. It's going to cause a real inconvenience in my life. But at the end of the day, I think for me personally, it is, for me, I've had it. I've got over it. My body fought it. So therefore, as far as I'm concerned, I'm protected against it. All right. I'm not going to go out looking to catch it again. That is for sure. But at the end of the day, I feel that I'm one of those who's had it. I don't want the vaccine. I'm happy for my body to take its chances, which it did last time. And I was lucky. There are some people who aren't so lucky, but that's for the individual to make that choice, whether they feel they should have the vaccination jab or not to be pressurized, threatened, basically bribed to take it, or as now it looks like the church now is coming in to play a part in convincing the unvaccinated to become vaccinated. Also as well, because of this, the Greek government now is also recruiting 8,000 new police officers, and along with extra people working in the National Transparency Authority and also for the Ministry of Development, so that they can actually increase the amount of boots on the ground, as it were, to be able to enforce these new regulations on businesses, etc., to see that they are complying. Now, when you think about it, recruiting 8,000 police officers, to me is, why are you recruiting 8,000 police officers? We know that there's a shortage of police at the moment. But then again, by the time you've trained them up and they've actually been able to go out on the streets and do their job, hopefully by that time, this fourth wave will have passed. So again, what you're seeing, I think, is extra police being drafted in or being recruited on the back of the coronavirus. The same as there's been lots of problems in the Greek health policy, in the Greek health administrations and in the Greek health system, that now they blame COVID for it. We shall now go and get it fixed. Whereas you've had these issues and problems from the past, way past, and they're also talking now of stopping treatments of other illnesses to concentrate on COVID. So we're having a little bit of the NHS thing going on at the moment in the UK, where they stopped treating people for cancers, they stopped treating people for heart conditions, etc., because they were too busy fighting COVID. And of course, what the NHS now are trying to do is catch up on a lot of those operations. And those people, for some of them, it was too late. So again, I have a horrible feeling that there's a bit of this going to start to play out in the Greek health system as well. Blame it all on COVID, even though you've had these problems within the health service for years and years and years. Nobody has ever properly tried to fix them. And now we use COVID as the excuse to do it. The same as recruiting extra police officers, using COVID as an excuse because we want to be able to go out and carry out extra checks on businesses and, as they say, safari checks. So it sounds like they're out big game hunting, looking for people that are not wearing masks, businesses that are not checking their employees to make sure that they're vaccinated, etc., etc. Because don't forget, employees now will have to test twice a week with the new measures that come in at the end of this week, as of tomorrow. So again, it's looking very interesting at the moment, and the way that the government is exerting more control. And as I said, the Holy Synod of the Greek Orthodox Church now, they're calling on priests and the faithful to get vaccinated against COVID-19, as well as to wear masks and maintain distances in church to prevent the spread of the virus. So again, you've got the church now. And if I remember rightly, about a year ago, the church was not in favour of the COVID-19 vaccination. There was a lot of issues about the church putting out the opposite message to what the government wanted. And it seems like now that the church has come into line on getting their priests to promote. But once again, it is your choice whether you have it. And let's not let that message get lost. It's all very well saying you're putting people at risk, you unvaccinated people. If anybody's at risk, it's the unvaccinated. And I've heard the analogy, it's like not wearing a crash helmet. Don't think about having the accident and not wearing a crash helmet. Think about the people who've got to come up and clear up the mess. There is a bit of that in that, I suppose. But then again, it still should be your choice. I'm not saying don't wear a crash helmet, by the way. I always wear a crash helmet, and I'm very happy that I do wear a crash helmet, and I know it saved me. However, at the moment, I'm not convinced about the vaccine. I've had the illness, I've got over it, and therefore I don't feel I need to have the vaccine. However, I may be one of those in a special position. I'm one of those people that have been lucky, and I appreciate that and I understand that. But there's more than just me. There are many others who are in the same position. I've had it. I've got over it. I let my body do its job. I let my immune system do the work that it's there for. And therefore, as far as I'm concerned, I am protected. So I should still be able to go about my daily life without any impedance. I've done everything the government asked me to after I contracted it. I did my 30 days of testing. I was in and out that testing centre twice a week. They got to know me very well in the testing centre from my visits. And again, let's see what happens as of tomorrow and see how things, if there's any more clarity that's going to come out. At the moment, there's a lot of broad brush stuff coming out, but no clarity for particular sections of the population. So we're in a kind of a limbo, really, because we don't really understand whether our piece of paper is worth anything as of tomorrow. That's why I'm going out tonight, maybe for my last meal out, or my first meal out with Jane, my last out with my certificate. and able to show that with pride. Anyway, moving on, getting away from COVID. EasyJet announced 500,000 increased seats will be available in Greece for 2022 in comparison to 2019. It seems the agreement was reached in London during the tourism market there. Greek tourism minister Vassilios provides that the company will increase the seats from to 1.6 million from 1.1 million in 2019, while the company indicated its desire now to operate either a base either in Heraklion in Crete or in Corfu. So it looks like EasyJet want to put up some permanent company locations there, because obviously the market for Greece is so good, which again is a positive, a massive positive. Also as well, I've been hearing on the grapevine that bookings for 2023 are now coming in. People are getting bookings for 2023. So the recovery for tourism for next year is obviously looking very positive at the moment. So this is another positivity that's been added with more flights from EasyJet. And that means more chances to get here via different routes and different companies. And it just means more people. All right. Anyway, and finally, as the UK heads towards Remembrance Day on the 11th of November, there was an interesting little article that I saw yesterday about the burial ceremony of 32 Greek soldiers who fell in Albania during the Greek-Italian War of 1940 to 1941. That was just the prelude to Ohi Day, when the Italians then started to invade Greece. And obviously, General Metaxas said, or Prime Minister Metaxas as he was then, said, Ohi, no, we're not going to side with Germany, come on the side of the Axis powers, we're going to stay as we are. And then basically the Germans then occupied the country. But anyway, there were battles going on in the northern part of the country on the Albanian border, because Albania did side with the Axis powers at the time. And this week, there was a ceremony held in Agios Nikolaos Church, which is a military cemetery at Kasura, where they actually buried the remains of 32 Greek soldiers that had been found. Now, the ceremony was held as part of an international agreement between Greece and Albania to find and exhume and identify and bury the bodies of Greek soldiers who fell in Albania, and it was arranged and organised by the Joint Greek-Albanian Experts Committee. The agreement was signed in 2009, but the implementation started about 10 years later. It calls for the location, identification and the excavation of fallen Greek soldiers' remains for their reburial in 2 cemeteries that have been agreed upon. And believe it or not, a total of 1,003 fallen Greeks have already been buried at the cemeteries in Kulsla and Virovatis, while the military general hospitals, the 4001 and 2005, as the 2051 were being used, along with the Greek Hellenic Police and the Democratis National Centre for Scientific Research, who are doing all the DNA processing of the fallen. So again, interesting story, again, with Remembrance Day just around the corner. The 11th of the 11th, when we remember the fallen from the First World War, and also subsequent veterans who gave their lives for freedom. Although I think some of them would be disappointed the way that things have been turning out at the moment with the world, because as I can say, the world seems to have just gone stark staring mad at the moment. Hopefully it will get back on track. Anyway, just going to say a quick hello to a few people that are tuning in at the moment. Wendy Norcliffe is watching. Sean Webb, old Raf Reg buddy, says, say hello to my girlfriend, Julie Witham, please. Hello there, Julie. I hope you're having a good time with Sean. He's a bit of a character and a bit of a lad. All right. So anyway, Sean, I hope you're having a good time there. Harvey Cooper is watching as well. Jerry Coyle is watching. Liz Saunders is watching too. Mike Collette is watching. Barbara Cocker says, morning, Ginge. Morning, Barbara. I hope you're having a good day as well. Yvonne Monroe is also watching. She says, morning, Ginge. Teresa Ann Huggett is watching as well. Nice to have you. Barbara Telfer, Liz Crystal over there in in Oxford. Maria Haddelberg over there in Sweden. That's the place to be, if you ask me, at the moment, is Sweden. Andrew the Fridge Watkins is also tuning in all the way from Wales. Alf Ting is watching as well. I did see a couple of comments there. I was going to have a quick look. Somebody left me a comment about mask wearing. I'm just scrolling down now to see if I can find that comment. If it'll let me get into there. Also, Christine Wildridge, John Gall is watching as well. Raffridge Buddy. Barbara Telfer is watching as well. Amanda Gregory said hello to you. Thank you for the weather. Greatly appreciated. Colin Taylor is also looking in as well. Ex-Raffridge Buddy. Nice to see you looking in. It seems as people keep putting comments in, I can't get to where somebody was leaving me comments, but... Oh, Bridget and Derek Cole in Cyprus, they're also tuning in as well. Nice to see you here as well. That's it as far as the news is concerned. I will have a little look at the comments and take note of them and probably mention them tomorrow. Just to remind you, my dance anthem show is going out on beatsradio.co.uk today. That is 7 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. Greek time. So come and tune in. I will be in the chat room sort of perusing what's going on while I'm out. My final night out before the restrictions come in as to regards the unvaccinated. We'll see where we are on Saturday morning. But anyway, come and join me on the beatsradio.co.uk, 7 p.m. tonight. And don't forget, tune in at any time to beatsradio.co.uk. Paul Shazam does his 80s drive time show. Get all your traffic and information, weather, etc. Whereas you drive home with just 80s music playing. That's all, just 80s, nothing else. And again, a very interesting show, great show as well. Paul Kazam, could I just say as well, he sent his condolences because your man passed away yesterday. I've forgotten his name now. Oh, God, the dancer guy. Lionel Blair. Yeah, he sent his condolences about the passing of Lionel Blair. 92. He had a good innings, 92. Anyway, condolences to his family at this time. I never met him. I think he did a few CSE shows in his time. But again, one of the old style entertainers who's going to be missed, actually. And again, occasionally, his face pops up on old movies with Una Stubbs or with Cilla Black in them. You see him as one of the dancers in the background. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for tuning in. And once again, thank you for your support. And I'll be back again tomorrow with more news and information on what's happening here in Greece and in Zakynthos in particular. Ta-ra.